Hello everyone and welcome to Educate 247. This is the fifth lecture in the series on management and today we'll be covering MCQs on planning. This lecture is important for RBI Grade B as well as SEBI Grade A 2020 examination. Now before moving forward, Educate 247 brings you SEBI Grade A 2020 crash course which features around 5000 plus MCQs and concise content along with live doubt sessions. So you can log onto the website and apply coupon code SEBI to get 1500 rupees off on the course. Now before moving on to the MCQs, let us understand more about the term planning. Planning is very important for successfulness and the effective performance of an organization, and not only for organizations but also for individuals. It is the most basic of all managerial functions. It involves selecting missions and objectives and the actions to achieve them. Therefore, every organization gives a greater emphasis on planning. Planning as a process involves the determination of a future course of action. That is, why an action, what action, and how to take it. These are related with different aspects of the planning process. Peter Drucker defined planning as a continuous process of making present entrepreneurial decisions systematically and with best possible knowledge their futurity, organizing systematically the efforts needed to carry out these decisions and measuring the results of these decisions against the expectation through organized systematic feedback. Coming to the nature of planning, it comprises of two types, that is formal and informal planning. Planning is formal when it is reduced to writing. When the numbers of actions are large, it is good to have a formal plan since it will help in adequate control. The term formal means official and recognized. Any planning can be done officially to be followed or implemented. Formal planning aims to determine in advance what should be done. The advantages of planning include proper cooperation among employees, a unity of action, and proper coordination and control. While informal planning is one which is not in writing but it is conceived in the mind of a manager. Informal planning will be effective when the number of actions are less and actions have to be taken in a short period of time. Now, coming to the MCQs. Which of the following is a benefit of planning? A. It helps in avoiding confusion and misunderstanding. B. It ensures clarity in thought and action. C. Useless and redundant activities are minimized or eliminated. Or D. All of the above. So the correct answer here is D, that is all of the above. Even though there are other managerial functions such as organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling, planning precedes all other managerial functions. It establishes objectives which are necessary for group effort. Since planning is a future course of action, managers are able to define their objectives and get direction. Also, it creates a unity of purpose. Proper planning helps in the effective utilization of resources. The resources are identified for optimum utility through planning. Planning helps to minimize the cost by providing greater utilization of all available resources. All kinds of wastage of men, material, money, and machines are prevented with the help of planning. It helps to motivate the employees as well, as all employees of the organization can feel that they are a part of the plan if it is communicated properly to them. There may also be continuous changes in the environment, and organization has to work in accelerating change. This change is reflected in both tangible and intangible forms. The tangible forms are in the form of changes in technology, market forces, and government regulations, while the intangible changes reflects changes in attitudes, values, cultures, etc. In order to cope with the requirements of such changes, organizations must be prepared for a future course of action, which is basically provided by the planning process. Planning does not stop changes in the environment, but gears the organization to take suitable actions so that it is successful in achieving its objectives. Moving on to the next question. All other managerial functions are performed within the framework of the plans drawn. Identify the related feature of planning. A. Planning focuses on achieving objectives. B. Planning is pervasive. C. Planning is futuristic. Or D. Planning is a primary function of management. So the correct answer here is D, that is, planning is the primary function of management. Planning serves as the basis of all other functions of management, and it is involved in the process of creating realistic goals which are to be achieved. The importance of being goal oriented is the fact that everyone knows what their end is and can work towards it. Planning thus forms the basis of all other functions of management. Planning provides the performance standards for measuring the progress of the organization. Therefore, management can compare the actual performance with the standards. Planning helps provide a framework for decision making. Since the planning provides for feedback, periodic evaluation, and indication for any deviation and corrective action can thus lead to better decision making. Moving on to the next question. Planning cannot foresee everything, and thus there may be obstacles to effective planning. Identify the limitation related to planning. A. Planning leads to rigidity. B. Planning may not work in a dynamic environment. C. Planning does not guarantee success. Or D. Planning reduces creativity. So the correct answer here is B. That planning may not work in a dynamic environment. In a business environment, as nothing is constant, it consists of a number of dimensions, which includes economic, political, physical, legal, and social dimensions in which an organization needs to function. The environment is not static and it keeps on changing. Thus, an organization has to constantly adapt itself to such changes. It thus becomes difficult to access future trends in the environment. So planning needs to be done in accordance. So planning needs to be done keeping in mind the future prospects as well. However, there may be limitation to planning due to the non-availability of correct information and data. Moving on to the next question. Identify the correct sequence of steps which are involved in the planning process. A. Evaluating alternatives, identifying the alternate course of action, setting objectives, and developing premises. B. Setting objectives, identifying the alternative courses of action, evaluating the alternative courses, and developing premises. C. Setting objectives, developing the premises, identifying the alternative courses of action, and evaluating the courses of action. D. Setting objectives, developing premises, identifying the alternative courses of action, and then evaluating the alternative courses. So the correct answer here is C. That is, the steps involved in planning include setting up of objectives, developing premises, identifying the alternative courses of action, and then evaluation of the alternative courses. So let us look at them one by one. Coming to the setting of objectives, here we establish the objectives for the whole organization and also for the individual departments. Organizational objectives provide a general direction, while the objectives of the departments will be more planned and detailed. Objectives can be long term and short term as well. They indicate the end result the company wishes to achieve. So, objectives will percolate down from the managers and will also guide and push the employees in the correct direction. The next step is the development of premises, as planning is done keeping the future in mind, though the future is uncertain. So, in the function of management, certain assumptions will have to be made. These assumptions are known as the premises. Such assumptions are made in the form of forecasts, existing plans, and past policies. The planning premises are also of two types, internal and external. External assumptions deal with factors such as the political environment, the social environment, the advancement of technology, as well as government policies, while the internal assumptions deal with the availability of resources and the quality of management. The next step is the identification of alternatives. As there is no one way to achieve the objectives of a firm, there are a multitude of choices. All of the alternative courses needs to be identified. There must be options available to the manager. Maybe he chooses an innovative alternative hoping for more efficient results. If he does not want to experiment, he will stick to the more routine course of action. The problem with this step is not finding the alternatives, but narrowing them down to a reasonable amount of choices so all of them can be thoroughly be evaluated. The next step is to evaluate and closely examine each of the alternative plans. Every option will go through an examination where all the pros and the cons will be weighed. The alternative plans need to be evaluated in the light of the organizational objectives. For example, if it is a financial plan, then its risk evaluation will be done. Detailed calculation and analysis is done to ensure that the plan is capable of achieving the objectives in the best and most efficient possible manner possible. So moving to the next question, which of the following is not a standing plan? A. Policy, B. Procedure, C. Program, or D. Rule. So the correct answer here is C. Program. Programs are specific and can be implemented only one time. It is not a type of standing plan. So let us look at the type of important plans, which includes objectives, policies, rules, programs, schedules, and budgets. Speaking of objectives, they are plans for the future that will provide direction for subsequent activity. We have a hierarchy of objectives. Primary or basic objectives are determined by the top management. Each department has its own objectives within the framework of basic goals. While policy is a standing plan or answer to recurring questions, it is a continuing decision which applies to repetitive situations. It is a guide to action or decision of a manager. A policy helps keep work in line with the objectives. They are directives providing continuous framework for executive actions on recurrent managerial problems. They take the form of general statements to lead managerial activity through proper channel towards the objectives. Coming to rules, they are the simplest type of plan chosen from alternatives. A rule requires that a specific action can be taken or not taken with respect to a situation. It is more rigid and more specific than a policy. It guides actions but provides no discretion in its strict application. Of course, rules are essential for discipline and smooth operations of a business. For example, no smoking rule in a factory is applicable to all, including the top executives, while procedure is a standing plan acting as a means of implementing a policy. For example, the sales department lays down a policy to execute all orders within 48 hours. The procedure of execution of orders will prescribe a sequence of steps that must be followed after the receipt of an order till the dispatch of the goods of the customers. These chronological series of steps or tasks constitutes a procedure. A procedure lays down the manner or method by which work is to be performed in a standard and uniform way. Once a procedure is established, it ensures uniform high level of performance and also results in the simplification of work. Speaking about program, it is a single-use plan and is a sequence of activities designed to implement policies and accomplish objectives. It gives step-by-step approach to guide action necessary to reach predetermined targets. It is an instrument of coordination, that is, it is a timetable of action. A good program ensures smooth and efficient operation. It enables a manager to prepare carefully and systematically for difficulties before they arrive. We have detailed programs of personal selling and sales in our marketing campaign to accomplish the set goals in sales. The next type of plan includes schedules. It is the process of establishing time sequence of the work to be done. It is an integral part of programming. A schedule specifies the time when each of series of actions should take place. Once the tasks to be done and the person who must do them are clear, according to our standing plans, scheduling may be the only element needing immediate management attention. Coming to the next plan, which is the budget. A budget is a projection defining anticipated costs of attaining an objective. It is an appraisal of the expected expense against the anticipated income or a future period. Since most values are denoted in money, we usually have money budgets. Budget is also used as a control device. The master budget of the company is a formal expression of plans, objectives, and goals which have been prescribed by the top management in advance for the enterprise as a whole. So that's it for this video. Now prior to ending this lecture, I'd like to inform you that Educare 247 brings you a comprehensive full video course for RBI Grade B 2020 examination. The course covers all the relevant subjects such as economic and social issues, finance and management, along with comprehensive coverage of current affairs. So, thank you and happy learning.